The phone call came on a Thursday evening. I had just gotten home from work, kicked off my shoes, and was about to heat up some leftover pizza when my phone lit up. Mom. I answered expecting the usual small talk about the weather or her garden. Instead, she got straight to business. Dylan needed $45,000 for his college tuition. My younger brother, the golden child. And apparently I was expected to pay for it. When I said no, she called me selfish. That word hit me like a punch to the gut. Selfish. After everything I had given them for 10 years. Before I tell you how I finally stood up for myself after a decade of being taken for granted, let me know where you are watching from. And if you have ever felt like the family ATM, hit that like button and subscribe. Trust me, you will want to see how this story ends. I grew up in a quiet suburb on the East Coast. Nothing fancy, just rows of modest houses with chain-link fences and cars that were always a few years past their prime. My dad worked at the local manufacturing plant, pulling long shifts that left him exhausted by dinner time. Mom picked up part-time hours at the corner grocery store whenever they needed extra cash. We were not poor, but we were not comfortable either. Money was always tight, always a source of quiet stress that hung in the air like humidity. Then there was Dylan. My little brother came along when I was 8 years old. By that point, my parents were in their early 40s, and they had not planned on another kid. But Dylan arrived anyway, and from the moment he came home from the hospital, he was treated like a miracle. I get it now. He was their late blessing, their second chance. But back then, I just knew that the rules were different for him. I had to earn my allowance by mowing lawns and doing chores. Dylan got his just for existing. I wore hand-me-downs. Dylan got new clothes every season. I never complained. I was the good kid, the responsible one. I kept my head down, studied hard, and made my parents proud. When I got accepted to a state university with a full scholarship, I remember the look on my dad's face. Pure relief. One less thing to worry about. One less bill to pay. I felt like I had won something big, like I had finally done my part to ease the burden. College was supposed to be my fresh start. I was 19, living in a cramped dorm room with a roommate who snored like a freight train, working part-time at a campus coffee shop to cover my personal expenses. I made about $1,200 a month, which felt like a fortune after years of saving birthday money and babysitting cash. I was careful with it. I had a budget. I was building a small savings account for emergencies. That first winter, my dad's car broke down. It was an old sedan that had been limping along for years, and finally the transmission gave out. The repair estimate came back at $2,300. My parents did not have it. My dad called me one night, his voice heavy with exhaustion, and explained the situation. He did not ask directly. He just laid it out, and I could hear the defeat in his tone. So I pulled out every dollar I had saved from my summer job and sent it home. My dad promised they would pay me back. I believed him. I never saw that money again. A few months later, the washing machine died. My mom called me frantic about how she was going to do laundry for the family without spending a fortune at the laundromat. $800 for a new machine. I sent it without hesitation. I told myself it was fine. I was young. I could rebuild my savings. Family comes first. Right. When I graduated at 22, I landed a job as a software engineer at a mid-sized tech company. The starting salary was $75,000 a year. I felt rich. I moved to a nearby city, rented a tiny one-bedroom apartment with outdated carpet and a kitchen the size of a closet, and started my adult life. I was proud. I was independent. I was ready to build something for myself. Then the calls started coming more frequently. A month into my new job, my mom called. The electric bill had spiked because of an unusually hot summer. They needed $500. I sent it immediately. 2 weeks later, my dad called. The car needed new tires, $600. I sent it. The month after that, the roof needed emergency repairs after a bad storm. $1,200. I borrowed from a friend to cover it because my paycheck had not cleared yet. Dylan was 14 at the time in middle school, and suddenly everything he needed became my problem too. A new laptop for school assignments, $1,000. I bought it and had it shipped to the house. When I came home for Christmas that year, I noticed Dylan had the newest iPhone, top of the line. My mom saw me looking at it and quickly explained that he needed it to stay in touch with them. I felt a knot forming in my stomach, but I did not say anything. What was I going to do? Argue about a phone? That knot stayed with me. It tightened every time my phone rang and I saw my mom's name on the screen. But I kept telling myself the same thing. This is what family does. You help each other. I was making good money. They were not. It was only fair. By the time I turned 25, I had been promoted. My salary jumped to $95,000, and I should have felt like I was finally getting ahead. But somehow, my bank account never seemed to grow. My parents knew about the raise because I made the mistake of mentioning it during a phone call. After that, the requests got bigger. January. The heating system was failing. $2,500. March. The refrigerator stopped working. $1,400. May. The water heater burst and flooded part of the basement. $1,800. I started keeping a notebook, jotting down every amount I sent home. It was starting to feel like I was covering their mortgage. When I did the math, I realized I was averaging $3,000 a month in family expenses. $3,000 that should have been going toward my future, my goals, my life. Dylan was 17 now, a senior in high school. My mom called one afternoon to tell me he wanted to learn to drive. The driving school charged $800 for a package of lessons. I paid for it. A month later, he passed his test, and my parents decided he needed a car. They found a used sedan for $15,000, nothing fancy, but reliable. My mom asked if I could help with the down payment, $5,000. I had just started saving for a down payment on my own place, a small condo I had been eyeing. I put that dream on hold and sent the money. I remember sitting in my apartment that night staring at my laptop screen, looking at condos I could not afford. My friends were buying houses, going on vacations, living their lives. I was still in the same cramped rental eating ramen and saying no to dinners out because I had bills to pay. Except they were not my bills, they were theirs. The resentment started creeping in. I tried to push it down, tried to remind myself that I was lucky to have a family, lucky to be in a position to help. But it was getting harder to ignore the voice in my head that kept asking why. Why was I responsible for all of this? Why was Dylan getting a free ride while I worked myself to exhaustion? When Dylan turned 18, he applied to colleges. His grades were decent, but nothing spectacular. A 3.0 GPA. No scholarships. No financial aid offers that covered much. He got accepted to a private university with a tuition price tag of $45,000 per year. When my mom told me, I felt my chest tighten. Surely they were not going to ask me to help with that. The summer before Dylan started college, my mom called. He needed to pay a deposit for his dorm room, $3,000. I hesitated for the first time. I asked if there was any way they could cover it. My mom sighed and said they were stretched thin, that they were counting on me. I sent the money, but I felt sick about it. In August, just before Dylan left for school, my mom called again. He needed a new laptop for his major, $2,500. I could not believe it. I had bought him a laptop 2 years ago. When I said that, my mom got defensive. That one was too old, too slow. He needed something powerful for his coursework. I sent the money, but I could barely look at my bank balance afterward. Then September came. Dylan moved into his dorm. My mom called a week later. They needed help with the first semester tuition, $10,000. I felt the air leave my lungs. I asked why they had not applied for more financial aid, why this was falling on me. My mom's voice got sharp. I made good money. Dylan was my brother. Could I not help him out a little? I transferred the money, but that night I could not sleep. I sat up in bed staring at the ceiling doing math in my head. How much had I given them over the years? How much of my life had I put on hold? I looked at my bank account the next morning. It was nearly empty. My friends were building equity, investing in retirement accounts, planning for their futures. I was living paycheck to paycheck because I was funding someone else's life. For the first time, I felt something other than guilt. I felt angry. And beneath the anger, I felt betrayed. I was 28 when the breaking point finally came. Dylan had been in college for a full year, and I had managed to avoid any more massive tuition requests by carefully dodging phone calls and responding to texts late. But you can only run for so long. It was a Thursday evening. I had just gotten home from a long day of back-to-back meetings, my brain fried, my body exhausted. I poured myself a glass of water, sat down on my couch, and my phone rang. "Mom," I answered. Her voice was calm, almost cheerful. She asked how I was doing, made small talk about the weather. Then she got to the point. Dylan needed to pay his spring semester tuition, $22,500. My parents had scraped together $5,000, she said. Could I cover the rest? $17,500. I sat there in silence. The number felt surreal. $17,000. That was more than I had in my savings. That was the amount I had been desperately trying to save for my condo down payment. That was months and months of work, of sacrifice, of saying no to myself so I could say yes to them. I took a breath and said the words I should have said years ago. I cannot do this. There was a pause. Then my mom's voice changed. What did I mean? I could not. Dylan was in college. He needed this. Was I seriously going to let him drop out because I was too selfish to help selfish? There it was again, that word. It cut through me like a knife. I tried to explain. I told her I had been helping for years, that I needed to save for my own future, that I could not keep doing this. She cut me off. Her voice was ice cold. You make so much money, Marlon. What are you even spending it on? Dylan is your brother. You are supposed to take care of family. I told her I did not have a responsibility to pay for his college. She laughed, a bitter, cruel sound. So that is how it is. We raised you. We sacrificed for you. And now that you have money, you turn your back on us. I tried to respond, but she kept going. You are the worst son, Marlon. I did not raise you to be this selfish. And then she hung up. I sat there, phone in hand, heart-pounding hands, shaking. I felt like I had been punched in the chest. I wanted to cry. I wanted to scream. I wanted to call her back and apologize, to promise I would figure out a way to send the money. But another part of me, a part I had been ignoring for a decade, was done. The next morning I woke up with a clarity I had not felt in years. I opened my laptop, pulled up a blank spreadsheet, and started digging. I went through old emails, text messages, bank statements, every single transaction I could find where I had sent money home. I listed them out one by one with dates and amounts. Year 1, 19 years old, car repair, $2,300, washing machine, $800. Year 2, various household bills, $2,800. Year 3, roof repair, $1,200. Laptop for Dylan, $1,000. Year 4, electric bills, tire replacement, $1,800. Year 5, iPhone for Dylan, $2,000. I kept going. The numbers climbed higher and higher. Year 6, heating system, water heater, refrigerator, $5,700. Year 7, car down payment for Dylan, driving lessons, $5,800. Year 8, monthly support payments because they could not make ends meet, $36,000. Year 9, laptop for college, dorm deposit, partial tuition payment, $15,500. Year 10, the current year, $18,000, and counting. I stared at the total at the bottom of the spreadsheet, $150,200. I could not breathe. I could not process it. $150,000. That was a down payment on a house. That was a retirement fund. That was a life I could have built for myself. And I had given it all away one guilt trip at a time. I spent the rest of the morning writing an email. I kept it short, factual, emotionless. I addressed it to both my parents. Dear Mom and Dad, you called me selfish for not paying Dylan's tuition. I have thought about it carefully. Attached is a detailed spreadsheet of every dollar I have sent home over the past 10 years. The total is $150,200. I have supported this family financially since I was 19 years old. I paid for car repairs, household appliances, Dylan's car, his electronics, and even part of his first-year tuition. I never asked for anything back. I never complained. But I cannot continue to be responsible for expenses that are not mine. Dylan is your son. His education is your responsibility, not mine. I love you both, and I love Dylan. But I need to build my own life now. If you need me to send you a bill for the $150,000, I will. Otherwise, please do not ask me for money again. Marlon? I attached the spreadsheet. I hovered my cursor over the send button for a long moment, my heart pounding in my chest. Then I clicked it. The relief was immediate. It felt like I had been holding my breath for 10 years and finally let it out. The first day after I sent that email, I heard nothing. No calls, no texts, no angry voicemails, just silence. Part of me panicked, wondering if I had gone too far, if I had destroyed my relationship with my family over money. But another part of me felt lighter than I had in years. By Saturday evening, my mom sent a short text. We received your email. We need time to think. That was it. No apology, no acknowledgement, but also no attack. I replied simply, take your time. I am here when you are ready to talk. A week went by. I threw myself into work, avoided checking my phone obsessively, and tried to focus on anything other than the gnawing anxiety in my gut. But honestly, I also felt something I had not felt in years. Peace. My phone rang, and I did not flinch. I opened my email without dread. I went to bed without worrying about what financial emergency would greet me in the morning. On day 9, my dad called. His voice was quiet, almost hesitant. Son, I read through your spreadsheet. I did not realize you had given us that much. Your mother and I, we need to apologize. We took advantage of you. We got so used to leaning on you that we forgot you had your own life to live. I felt tears sting my eyes. Thank you, Dad. That means a lot. He continued. We are going to figure out Dylan's tuition on our own. We will take out loans if we have to. We should not have put that on you. And Marlon, I want you to know I am proud of you. Not because of the money, because you stood up for yourself. I should have taught you to do that a long time ago. I told him I would still help in a real emergency, but I could not keep being their safety net for everything. He understood. We talked for another 20 minutes, the first real conversation we had had in years. No requests, no guilt, just a father and son talking. The months that followed were not easy, but they were better. I still felt guilty sometimes late at night when my mind wandered. I questioned whether I had been too harsh, too blunt. But then I would look at my bank account slowly growing for the first time in a decade, and I would remind myself that I had done the right thing. I started going to therapy. My therapist helped me understand the concept of boundaries, something I had never learned growing up. She explained that helping family was noble, but not at the expense of my own future. She taught me that saying no was not selfish. It was self-preservation. And slowly I started to believe her. 3 months after I sent that email, I put a down payment on a condo. It was small but modern, with big windows that let in natural light and a kitchen that actually had counter space. When I invited my parents over to see it, my mom cried. Not out of anger or guilt, but out of something that looked like pride. You deserve this, Marlon. You deserve to have a life. I hugged her, and for the first time in years, it felt genuine. 6 months later, Dylan called me. He had gotten a part-time job on campus, working at the library for $15 an hour. He told me it was hard balancing school and work, but he was learning to manage his own money. He thanked me, not for the money I had given him over the years, but for teaching him about responsibility. I did not realize how much I took for granted, he said. I thought money just appeared when we needed it. Now I get it. Thank you for not enabling me anymore. A year after everything fell apart, my family was healthier than it had ever been. We talked regularly, but the conversations were different. We talked about life, about goals, about things that mattered, not about bills, not about emergencies, not about money. I still think about that spreadsheet sometimes. $150,200. It is a staggering number, and part of me mourns the opportunities I lost because of it. But another part of me does not regret it. Not entirely. Because that money taught me something invaluable. It taught me that love is not supposed to be transactional. It taught me that you cannot pour from an empty cup. And it taught me that sometimes the most loving thing you can do for someone is to stop giving them everything they ask for. I learned that setting boundaries does not make you a bad person. It makes you a healthy one. I learned that family is important, but so am I. My dreams matter. My future matters. And sacrificing all of that does not make me noble. It just makes me lost. Now when I sit in my condo looking out at the city skyline, I feel something I had not felt in years. Contentment. Not because I have everything I want, but because I finally have something that belongs to me. A space that is mine, a future that is mine, a life that is mine. My parents and I are good now, better than good actually. Our relationship is built on respect instead of guilt. Dylan is thriving, learning to stand on his own 2 feet. And me, I am finally living for myself. So if you are out there feeling like the family ATM, wondering if it makes you selfish to say no, let me tell you something. It does not. Helping family is beautiful, but drowning yourself to keep someone else afloat is not love. It is martyrdom. And nobody benefits from that. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is to stop giving. Not because you do not care, but because you care enough to teach responsibility. That spreadsheet did not just show them $150,000. It showed them 10 years of a son who loved them enough to sacrifice and finally loved himself enough to stop. And maybe that was the lesson we all needed to learn. Have you ever been in a situation where family expected too much from you financially? How did you handle it? Drop your story in the comments below. I would love to hear how you set your boundaries. And if this story resonated with you, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with someone who might need to hear it. Sometimes we all need permission to put ourselves first. Thank you for listening to my story, and I hope it gives you the courage to protect your own future. Take care of yourselves out there, and remember, you matter too.